Assalamu alaikum. With the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom, that I may be worthy of conveying His message, and so, inshallah, sanctify His name and bring peace to the world. Amen. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to join this conference. It's by the holidays by us, so I couldn't come live, so we have to send this pre-recorded Zoom. My heart is with you, and of course with the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine. The subject that I was told is the pivotal in this conference is Zionism, the Jewish question, and the nature of Israel. And this issue is something that touches to the depth of our hearts. We as Jewish people have a religion, a covenant that we made with God 3,000 years ago, and it's exacting, it's still existing. This is the covenant that we live and breathe for 3,000 years, and that is solely what Judaism is, to be subservient to the Almighty, to uphold the words of the Torah that Moses gave us on Mount Sinai 3,000 years ago. Anything that strays from that is unacceptable, is not Judaism. Zionism is a total transformation to nationalism. It is a mere 130 years, 140 years old. It is a movement, a political nationalist movement to create a Jewish sovereignty. They call it Jewish sovereignty. That's nothing but Judaism, but they call it the Jewish sovereignty, being that they're coming from Jewish heritage, most of the people there. And they have this nationalist creation that is actually void of godliness, because they flaunt the fact that they're a democracy, meaning that it's freedom. You don't have to keep the laws of the Torah. You don't have to keep the covenant. Cars are going and coming, and the stores are open on the Sabbath, which is clearly a flagrant transgression of the laws of the Sabbath, of one of the 10 commandments, that we have to rest on the Sabbath because God created the world 6 days, the seventh day He rested. So this whole concept of Zionism is totally rebellion against God, against the covenant of God. One of the roots, the issue of Zionism is that they ridicule religious Jews. They say, you look to God for protection, for life and protection. How could you do that? You see, it didn't help you for these 2,000 years that we suffered in exile. That we've been in European lands, and there was the Inquisition and Crusade. So you're a bunch of old fools, and therefore we have to turn to the gun, and the gun is what will protect us. This whole concept of this nationalism is rooted in blasphemy, in heresy, that God is weak. The God that gives us life, that sustains us, that the whole world is ticking like a clock and that's working. This is what they refute. They say you have to have a gun, you have to protect yourself. So it's really contradictory to what Judaism is, and this is in its essence. But in its creation, when it comes to fruition, the establishment of the Zionist state of Israel, it just breaches other laws of the Torah, basic laws, because we made this covenant 3,000 years ago, and we were told by the Almighty to go into the Holy Land as a nation, that we should build a temple, which King Solomon built a temple, to be close to God, this subservience to God. And we were warned by the prophets that if we're not on this high level of holiness, we will be banished from the land as a nation, which happened with the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago. With anybody who studies the history, the temple was destroyed. It was built 70 years later. Another temple was destroyed. After the destruction of the temple, actually King Solomon, when he built the temple, he had written a prophecy in a book called Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs. We were told through a prophecy from God that we are under oath when there will come about the destruction of the temple. We are under 3 oaths that we should not attempt to leave exile because we will be spread out through the world, and we are not to attempt to return in mass, in large numbers. One. Secondly, we are not to rebel against any nation. We should be loyal citizens in every country where we're residing. Thirdly, we are not to make any attempt to leave exile. Now, Zionism, when they came along with their concept of making this national home, so they breached all these laws of exile. 2,000 years we went through the Crusades, the Inquisition, all our suffering. And the rabbis were asked by the people, the laymen, they were asked, maybe we should establish a homeland, something for our safety. And the rabbi said, have patience. God sees. God is the ruler of the world, and he controls the world, and he sees your suffering. You cannot try to leave exile. The way to, the remedy for the suffering in exile is by serving God, and then ultimately God, with his compassion, will make a metaphysical change in the world where all humanity will serve God in harmony, not become Jewish, but all humanity will serve God, and God will build a temple without any human intervention. Till that day comes, we are to remain in exile and not to re-establish any type of Jewish sovereignty. So when these Zionists come, they make their state. They totally ignore and just laugh at the words of God, because they're not religious anyway. These were non-religious people. They just decided that they're going to establish their national home. They wanted to establish it in Patagonia, in Uganda, someplace that would be lush, because what do they have to do with God anyway? They don't have anything with the Holy Land. But they wanted some practical land that would be fruitful. And the only reason they turned to Palestine in the 1890s was because they decided that they need the support of the world, massive support to create the country. So what they did was, because, remember, they are not religious. They don't have any morals of godliness. So they didn't, without any compunctions, they took the name Israel, which is Jacob in the Bible. They took the Star of David, the other symbols of Judaism, and they told the world, oh, we're a Jewish state. We're this, what God gave us the land, ignoring and willfully knowing and ignoring the fact that we, according to Judaism, we are forbidden to have our own sovereignty, our own entity, even if it would be a religious Jewish state. But that is it would still be forbidden for us. And certainly, this banishment from God, that we are not allowed to establish a state, would be even in a desolate, uninhabited land. But by establishing it, by removing, by wiping out over 500 villages, by killing and stealing, that just breaches all the laws of the Torah that we're not allowed to steal or kill. And on top of that, by taking the people, the Muslim communities, and making a narrative and saying the reason they oppose the establishment of the state, which right away the people of Palestine were not willing to just pick themselves up and give it over to the Israeli state. So their opposition was told to the world that it is because they are anti-Semitic and they hate the Jews, and it's a religious conflict. This narrative is bogus, is totally false. It's vile. It's Jews and Muslims live together in total harmony and peace, as we did in all the Muslim lands and Arab lands. As I said, we were taken into the Muslim lands. We lived in peace and harmony when we were being harassed, when we were being killed in the Inquisition and so forth. We were taken into the land. And in Palestine, which was under the Ottoman Empire, we were taken in. So this concept of vilification of the people, of the Palestinian people and the Muslim people who supported them, and accusing them of being anti-Semitic, is nothing more vile and untruthful. So therefore, as Jewish people, our rabbis around the world stood up from day one and pleaded with the world, pleaded with the United Nations, as we have the chief rabbi of Palestine stated clearly, nothing to do with the Zionist rabbinate, because that's just another window dressing for their false Jewish state. But the chief rabbi from the Eidah Harei, this God-fearing community, said, we furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine. These were the words of Rabbi Dushinsky declaration in July 16, 1947, a year before the Zionist state was ratified by the United Nations. This was in front to the United Nations, their documents. And since then, we've had all the rabbis, all the great leaders, here taking up the next chief rabbi after he passed on in 2002. Then we see the thousands, tens of thousands of people, demonstrations in front of the White House. Basically, the Jewish communities have been always standing up in opposition. And in Palestine, they've been brutally beaten, children, old men, daily for 75 years and more since the establishment of the state. Why? Because we will not accept this false Judaism, this false establishment of so-called Jewish state, when what it is basically an evil, criminal occupation of the Palestinian people. Jews get arrested, boys and girls, because they refuse to serve in the Israeli army. This is a fact that our boys and girls are refusing to serve, and they get arrested and beaten. And as many of our rabbis get murdered and assassinated. We can show more and more of these, but this is the facts on the ground. So we want the world to know that because we are Jewish, we are accusing the Zionist state of Israel of being the worst personification of anti-Semitism. They are anti-Semitism. They are killing people and committing crimes, and they're doing it in the name of Judaism, besmirching the name of our beautiful religion. They are creating hate between Jews and Muslims. Look how many dead people are dying for their cause. They're Israeli soldiers. For what? Not for Judaism. So they are anti-Semitism. And they have the audacity to accuse people who oppose that evil occupation of another people of being anti-Semitic. That is unacceptable. This is the nature of Israel. It is built on a lie, and it is a colossal lie. It is a colossal nakba. It is a horrific catastrophe. It is in every aspect. It is rebellion against God. It is masquerading in a religion, and it has created around the world a tumor, a monster that the world accepts that it is proper to kill people like ants, and the suffering of people are dying from hunger, and the suffering of people in Gaza. And therefore we want the world to know that it is unacceptable. There is no way possible to look at this as Jewish. Just in case you are a little puzzled, look at every Jewish community, whether it is in Al-Quds in Jerusalem, in the streets of Mea Shearim, where the very religious community is that was living there for hundreds of years, or go to the communities in New York, right across from Manhattan, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, or go to the communities in England, in Stamford Hills, or Montreal, Canada, wherever the very religious, invariably, the people that give their lives for their religion, for Judaism, who live and breathe Judaism, they are opposed to the existence of the state of Israel, and there are no Israeli flags there. This is what, if you have to answer for people, when they ask you, how could you say you don't support Israel, aren't you anti-Semitic? Say, look at the Jewish communities that are flourishing around the world, that are living and breathing Judaism, not the compromised, what they non-religious, what compromised, what they call modern Orthodox, that are compromised religions. The ones that are true to religion oppose the state, and the ones who are look at themselves, call themselves rabbis and the rabbinate and so forth. These or the rabbis in their Knesset, these are simply abusing the name of a religion. That is a fact on the ground, and we are pleading with the world: stand up for the people of Palestine. Israel, its nature, it is the satanic. The ratification of the state of Israel was satanic. When the United Nations gave ratified the state of Israel, it was giving the minority, the Jewish populace, the right to have control over the land that would cause contention. But it wasn't the right for the people of Palestine, the Jewish people, because the people of the Jewish community that was living there was also opposed to it. It was giving the power to the Zionists that came from Europe. And therefore, it is satanic, it's beyond comprehension, it is beyond common sense. And what's happening in Gaza is beyond common sense. Therefore, we are pleading with the world, plead with your leaders, that they must respect Judaism and respect what people call humanity and human rights, the people of Palestine. Let us stop immediately the murder in Gaza, the occupation of Palestine, so we can once again live in peace and harmony throughout the world. And as Jews, we can show our gratitude to the people of Palestine with a free Palestine. Amen. Thank you.